I've never seen a diamond in the flesh. I cut my teeth on wedding rings.
Dude, that's pretty cool.
Man, that is a sad clown.
Dude, that's pretty good.
This is The Gloom, bringing you weekly interviews with F3 Omaha Pack, exploring their F3 experiences and finding those sticky elements that create the glue in the gloom.
So I'll try to do a little intro here, but this is exciting because we haven't been able to connect, right? Our schedules haven't lined up. You've been busy with wrestling, and you are the official assistant coach of the year
for the Omaha Metro Conference. Yes, that's correct.
Okay, and we'll also talk through some Site Q leadership stuff. You launched Top Rope a while back. Gosh, almost been 2 years now.
Oh yeah, I handed out the flag about 8 months ago.
Yeah, and then I think the other thing that has always been that I have just always appreciated about you is, we went to maybe elementary school for a year.
Not quite.
Oh, okay.
With my sister.
Yeah.
I was 7th grade. I think it might have been.
That's right. Well, so I dated your sister.
Oh.
And so then.
Going down that road this morning, huh?
Well, so then I remember, first workout. So if you haven't figured out, we got the Plague and Armbar. We're on a little run interview mission here. And did you start your watch?
I did start my watch, so it is an official run.
Okay. But one of the things, I feel like when I first saw you in F3, I was kind of like, hey, that's Mr. Armbar. But I remember thinking, like, is this going to be, we went to high school together, is this, like, what's this going to be like, Is he going to ask me about dating his sister? And, I guess we've just connected on so many other levels that's never...
Has never come up until
right now.
Until we recorded a conversation.
Yeah. So anyway, but I think, just want to get your thoughts on maybe that first workout, the name Armbar. I think we all know where that came from, but yeah, I don't know. Give me your thoughts. What was that first workout like?
Well, I remember the tweet I saw. Smash Mouth gets credit for EHing me.
Okay.
But I saw a Bubbles tweet, and everyone, it was at Paradise Island, in fact, and everyone was standing in the rain doing their Namer-Rama. And my reaction, being the strange human being I was I want to do that. That looks like a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Like, what are they out there doing? So then, like 2 weeks later, Smash Mouth says that he joined in the group and showed me a Namer-Rama, and I was like, oh, okay. This thing started to come across my radar. So I don't remember the specific workout. I do remember it was at Cornhusker. I remember Namer-Rama Toadstool did it from a swing. And it was just like a fun environment. The workout was pretty good. I had just ran a marathon 2 weeks earlier, so the fitness component wasn't really something I needed to work on, but I wanted to be around some people while doing it, because after a training cycle, a lot of times you just lose it. You don't work out as much, you lose the people you trained with, and you start over from the bottom.
Yeah.
So I thought that was such a cool aspect. And then Armbar. So I'm out there in the middle of the circle. Say I'm a wrestling coach. It's one of those name-giving times where it's getting kind of quiet.
Yeah.
And someone goes, well, we can name him Oil Check. And I was like, let's not. And someone else goes, what's your favorite wrestling move? And I go, armbar. And there's one of those who's just like, armbar, get him out of the circle before this gets worse.
Yeah. Oil Check.
Yeah, so I appreciate Toadstool for not naming me Oil Check.
Yeah. Oh man, that could have been a disaster. Well, so fitness-wise, because you were a pretty avid runner, and then also had done a lot of training for wrestling, right? I mean,
yeah,
you kind of train with the players a little bit, and
I do try to get on the mat, roll around with them. As I get, in this group, this is hard to say. As I get older, it gets harder.
Yeah.
And then, you see guys that are 65 out here killing it.
Right.
And they don't want to look at me at 39 and be like, would you quit your whining?
Right.
You know, wrestle with the guys. But yeah, I wrestle around quite a bit.
Well, and you're talking about Chicklets. He's 65, right?
Ooh.
Just kidding. Sorry,
Ooh.
Chicklets.
Looks like he's 27.
Well, so fitness-wise, you were good. How about from a second, third F perspective? Was there some gaps there you were maybe looking to fill, or?
Yeah, I definitely was. If you've ever been to a Q source with me, I'll bring up that I have some pretty good legacy friends in the wrestling coaching staff. Ride or die friends, love them to death, but they're not necessarily trying to accelerate all that much.
Yeah.
As far as grow into the best man they can be. And I'm not saying they're bad men. I'm just saying it's not something that's on their mind.
Yep.
So that's one aspect that this has offered me, just a chance to kind of grow to a better person, best man I can be. And I absolutely love the second F. If you ever ran with me, I'm like you, just want to chatter and talk the whole time. In fact, I give a shout out to John Cloud. He was mad at me. Went to the Sandlot last week. Said, run in silence.
Yeah.
And I was like, no.
There's no way.
No, I'm not going to.
I just don't see the point.
He scolded me at the end of the workout, but we're so good friends.
I had Lucky Charms gave me some crap because apparently the first time I pre-ran with him, I asked him 2 questions, proceeded to not let him answer, and just kept talking, which it turns out he was maybe thankful for. But so cafeteria, pre-running, have you, I know work schedule's kind of tough, but maybe the other second F things, I guess CSOP, how have those things been for you? Because you've been doing this for 3 years, right?
Well, it'll be 3 in July. Not quite an OG, but in that tier right underneath.
Yeah.
Kind of feel that way, but I haven't been able to do a CSOP in 2 years.
Oh, wow.
Because it's just wintertime, Saturdays, I'm on a bus somewhere most mornings at 5 a.m. So, but I haven't missed it because, that's one thing you find out the longer you're in this. There's always another opportunity here to be a part of it.
Right.
There is FOMO, of course, but one thing I always realized, there's going to be a flag planted tomorrow. If I miss something today, it's okay.
Yeah.
Because there's going to be another flag tomorrow, another chance to get after it, and a bunch of guys that aren't going to judge you for missing the day before. Or that's just my pretty strong fart sack knowledge.
Well, as a fellow, FOMO, I'm in active FOMO most days, and that's actually really good. I mean, because you're right, there's going to be a flag planted tomorrow, or there's somebody that you could reach out to or connect with, which is always true. Something I'm learning as I'm posting less is you really can't show up based on your schedule And the guys are excited to see you no matter what.
Yes, 100%.
You know, I used to really think if I'm not hosting 6 days a week, then I'm not a good leader, I'm not a part of the group. And it's just that internal dialogue of like, you missed out, you suck. But it's not really true. It's never been true with when you show up and the guys are like, hey.
And
so,
to that point, I've always been impressed by the guys that can do that. That's where we didn't do it this year because we got too big. But a couple years ago where we did Khakis Challenge.
yeah.
That came from a cafeteria conversation with Khakis where I was like, I'm good for 1 to 2 4 sets a week, maybe more. And he looks me dead in the eyes. Like, I don't miss.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I was like, well, let's start a month where we don't try to miss. And mad respect for the guys that their routine and their maintenance plan has them getting up every single day and doing it.
Yeah.
Just not mine.
I need to start EHing more guys at the grocery store. That's what I think, you know, looking at Khakis journey.
I do got to tell a second funny story about Khakis.
Yeah.
So, you know, when you first start, you don't necessarily know everything that's going on, the language, everything.
Right.
So, I first thought Khakis was an Antan. Sorry, wait time. I just didn't know any better. Because at all the workouts I was there with him, we said respect after his name. So I thought it was like an old school thing from the movie. Like, well, that's the father. Respect.
That's awesome.
And it turned out I learned within a couple of weeks what was going on, and who was the man in charge.
That's awesome. The other funny one, I can't remember who it was that showed up and thought Slow Pitch was the Ryder Brothers' dad.
Oh,
That's always been a good story.
well, he probably looked at his calf muscles and decided
Right.
he's the alpha.
You can be in charge of me. So the other thing, you know, as you're looking at faith, because I think you and I have had so many conversations about faith, and I think what I love is you maintain such great respect and you're just mindful of other people's beliefs and not trying to persuade anybody or move them, you know, just trying to understand. But how is your kind of faith journey, if that's a thing, or just that third half? What's been your experience there?
I got kind of 2 sections of that. If you're talking about faith as far as my relationship with God, you know, I feel this is about the only non-church way where you can strengthen that relationship.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not a big in your face with what I believe, or like you said, I respect what other guys believe, but I still really enjoy praying at the end of the day. And another thing I like is I like listening to how other people choose to speak to God. When it's their turn to pray, I just like to listen to how they do that.
Yeah.
You know, some people are short and sweet. Some people can get 2-3 minutes, but it's almost similar to a COT when you got to open up in front of the men about how you're going to speak to the Lord.
Yeah.
And then, you know, I think about the third F as far as the community that we're trying to help out with. And that's the one area where I still feel I could grow in quite a bit, because I've just seen some people do some amazing things here with, you know, different raising money for this and setting up college scholarships.
Yeah.
And it's just pretty amazing. I try to get involved with it a little bit, but I don't do it nearly as much. I don't want to ever have it be that F3 is giving me a lot more than I'm giving F3.
Right. Well, for the listeners, I don't know if it's a God thing or not, but we're happy to be talking about faith running by the Tri-Faith
We are.
campus out here, which is just, I think, a good illustration of kind of how F3 is open to all men and just having those conversations. So
Shout
good.
out to the Trident
Yeah, there
and
you go.
Roadhouse, picking a great location.
Man, did you see that shirt?
Yeah. Now, just speaking about F3 hardships,
Yeah.
do I really need another shirt?
Oh, that's the question my M is asking me.
Mine too.
I've justified it by I work from home, so I haven't bought work clothes in over 2 years.
So F3 shirts become the new going out
So,
shirts.
yeah. So if I get the cheapest one, I got $29 in on a sport tech shirt. because they don't make mud gear anymore, which is sad.
Yeah, I'm all right with that though.
Yeah.
For the thick bodies, mud gear, it's not the best.
Yeah. Well, so I love what you said there, because it's interesting. It's just another layer of listening to the people around you and how they're doing things. But did you grow up going to church or any sort of like faith background, or?
Not strong. We went to church sometimes. My dad he had a good relationship with God, and he always said, don't need to necessarily go to church to keep that relationship strong.
Yeah.
As long as the feelings are there. And I bought into that, and everyone will have a different viewpoint on that. But, on the days you come, that prayer fills my cup up.
Yeah.
Enough to, drive me through that day. COT and workout helps too.
Heck yeah. Well, that's awesome. And I think you mentioned Q Source too. What's been your experience with Q Source? Has that been something you've enjoyed, or?
Yes, it is. When I launched Top Rope, which we can start heading down that rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Which is a different rabbit hole than the rabbit hole.
Right. Yeah, not to be confused with the every other Sunday rabbit hole.
But when I launched Top Rope, one of the hardest things was missing Paradise.
Yeah.
Because I really enjoy running, and I really enjoy Q Source. And I actually had a pretty deep conversation with Tater Tot on that. But the want to lead became stronger than the want to go to Q Source.
Yeah.
So had a chance to, open up a site, which was during the pandemic.
Yeah.
That's actually 2 years ago from today.
2020.
Yep. I know that because it was the Friday after parent-teacher conferences, and I was supposed to go golfing.
Yeah.
And the whole world shut down.
You're like, wait a minute. Wait till tomorrow.
And I didn't get to go.
Oh.
But anyway, so we're setting up Top Rope to be launched, and then next thing you know, everything gets shut down, stuck at home. But the beautiful thing was, when we did start working out again in person, Top Rope was the first site to open back up after the pandemic, the new one.
Yeah.
And I'll always remember that day when we opened it up and 60 guys showed up in costumes, Ponzi with the perfectly timed cue cards. Just a beautiful day all around.
Yeah. What so I want to back up on Q Source a little bit. What was different about Q Source? Because I feel like you're a fairly avid reader. You read a lot of good, I'm thinking of like the Chop Wood, Carry Water.
Yes.
You'd like to read books about leadership and getting better, but what was appealing about Q Source?
I think it goes back to the same reason, say I like to listen to prayer. I just really like listening to people who are smarter than me talk.
Sure.
And if you're in this group long enough, you're going to run across one of those guys.
Yeah.
Sometimes they can't run a 5-minute mile, but engage them in a conversation at cafeteria, they'll blow the doors off you there. So I listen to podcasts, so I read books like that. So Q Source, I just feel like every time there's some little nugget in there, someone drops it, it just makes you be like, wow, that's a completely different perspective that I can actually take and use in my life, try to be better. Or there's that common ground, I'm struggling with this, or Mariam and I are struggling with that, and just makes you realize everybody's got something going on.
Yeah, I love that, especially in a group like this with no restrictions on age or race or any of that, where you've got so many different perspectives and just life experiences that, man, I remember hearing a guy like Vandelay, dude, like he's quiet most of the time, and then at a Q Source he makes some comment and you're like,
just drops knowledge.
Wow.
Yep.
Not only this guy's an architect of the mind, not just in the real world, right? So tell me a little bit about because the Concentrica is kind of a big piece of the Q source, and you mentioned your M. How do you feel like F3 has helped improve the relationships there? Or?
Yes, I do. The first year, not quite as much, but it's crazy. You kind of go through, we were talking about it earlier, when you buy into this as hardcore as someone like you or I have.
Yeah.
That first year, you do want to be here every day.
Right.
I think you and I have probably taken close to 1,000 pre-runs together.
Right.
You know,
For sure.
and at that first, like, not quite a year, less than that, but it's been definitely when I was going through wrestling season, it was actually hard on my wife. Because I was getting up, going to work out, and at that time, not as much in West Omaha as we have now. So, you know, going down to Cornhusker, or down to West Side, down to Paradise. I'd go to West Side, I'd shower, so I was already right by there.
Yep.
I go to work, go to practice, and I walk back in my house at 6:45. So I was leaving my house 4:15 in the morning.
Yeah.
Not getting home till 6:45. And at that time we had, you know, 6-year-old twins.
Yeah.
So after about 2 months of that, she finally was like, hey, you gotta start coming home in the morning.
Yeah, I need some help.
Yeah, these kids need to see you.
Yeah.
I need 15 minutes to get ready without the kids needing my help. And at first I was a little bummed.
Yeah.
I had a great routine for me. But then, you know, you go back to that concentric, what the guys are saying. You gotta be there for your family first.
Right.
So then I changed it over to coming home after workouts in the morning and, you know, being around the family more. And yeah, past that point, it's strengthened it. You know, I always tell my wife I've traded in $4 coffees for $30 beer taps, bar taps.
Right. You know, it's so. What's interesting is like when you tell your buddies at F3, like, hey, I'm prioritizing the M and the family, can't make it out. Everybody's like, perfect. That is the best decision you can make. But for some reason in your mind, before you can, like, your mind is like, oh man, guys are gonna be mad.
Right.
And it turns out everybody's in support of, you know, anything we would decide to do that would be focusing on our families and our M's is 100% what we're trying to get guys to do. So I wanted to talk to you a little bit about leadership, because something you did that was really cool, and I can't remember if this was punishment or not, but you had a couple wrestlers that I remember you bringing out.
I did.
And you know, I don't know, to me it's just such a cool thing, right? It's like, hey, let's get you out and work out, but also let's get you around some men that have integrity or trying to accelerate. But talk to me a little bit about that from a leadership perspective. Has F3 helped you grow there, or?
Yes, it has. So in that situation, I had a couple kids just get in trouble at school. I'm not going to go into what they did.
Yeah.
And they were making some poor decisions overall. So I did this not as a punishment, but obviously to a 16-year-old. Hey, I'm going to pick you up at 4:30 in the morning. And we're going to go work out with some middle-aged men when it's cold as heck out.
Right.
But what I talked to them, and I did each one of them individually so I could have a conversation with them about it. I wanted them to come out and see men who aren't afraid to admit they've made mistakes and failures happened, and they're trying to grow and get better.
Oh, that's great.
So I didn't want them to think this one mistake they made defines them. And if you come to an F3 workout, every one of us would be like, hey, have you made mistakes in your life? We're going to be like, oh yeah, lots of them.
Only every day.
Here we have some of those beautiful pre-runners.
Morning, fellas. Hey, there's Chicklets.
There's Chicklets. We're just kind of aimlessly moving around this Burke neighborhood. It's
Yeah,
nice.
Yeah. I'm hoping you know where we're going. I've been lost in this neighborhood once with Bubbles. We got 5.
You know, if the sound quality is heavy breathing, because we did not pick a Flat Friday track to come out here and do.
Right. Well, so, and then, you know, as a site queue, I mean, tell us a little bit about that, because launching a site is a pretty big responsibility. You mentioned kind of tension or having to give up some of your own desires for the better of the group. But how was it leading that site? Because I think it's been interesting to see, every time we add a new site, right, you get the engagement at the start, and then you're kind of forging the identity there. But what was your experience with Top Rope?
Crazy things with launching a site, highs and lows with it. You got that first couple of weeks, you just boom. Everyone wants to be there.
Yeah.
40, 50 guys. Just makes you feel on top of the world. And then it drops down and you start thinking, God, and what I'm doing wrong? Like,
right.
Why are guys not posting here? But what it really did for me is let me meet a bunch of new guys.
Yeah.
The fact that I chose to be there every Wednesday. There was a few regulars, but you saw a lot of different guys coming through. And then had the chance, let's go back down, and had the chance to get a lot of VQs out there too.
That's awesome.
And that was because at that time you had Paradise, Heavy, or Top Rope. So if you get a new guy, chances are they're not going to want to queue Paradise or
right. Yeah, they're
Heavy for that first go around.
Right.
And so I was able to get a lot of new guys out there doing their VQ, and that was just so much fun to see, because I remember my VQ, it was interesting. Though there has been some discussion with Tater Tot whether you got my VQ or he got it. I'll let you guys settle that out.
Was that the one we were doing? I remember one of your workouts you had us doing. We weren't even that far apart, but you were doing Bernie Lomax at Woodshed, and yes. I remember thinking, like, man, we need to bring this workout back. And then the pandemic hit, and it was
right.
Can we do partner carries?
The pandemic has hurt my style quite a bit.
Yeah.
I like that people touch each other. Yeah. It's a wrestling coach.
Yeah, stance in motion. What, so as you're thinking about, because I know that we had a few conversations of like, man, what's going on, the numbers, and so then did it really shift your mindset of, instead of, kind of volume or number of guys, like the individual, kind of that power in a smaller group and the beauty of that? Or
yes, it did. There was one day I was on the queue, and my previous one was the launch, so there was 60 and 5 guys there.
Yeah.
And I really liked the workout, but at the end of it, we had so much fun. You're just open to talk a little more, a little easier to be vocal in front of the group. And it also helped that one of those 5 was Mufasa.
Yeah.
Which he doesn't struggle with keeping things quiet.
Right. Are we headed the direction of the school?
I don't know. I think we are.
Okay. That's good. That's probably about time. There we go. 129th. So then, I guess other kind of questions that we've been getting guys' input on are, what sort of advice for the new guy or for the packs when a new guy shows up? How do we just keep bringing in and engaging our F&Gs?
Don't be afraid of introducing yourself multiple times.
Yeah.
So I'm terrible with names, and we have lots of them. I don't even attempt to learn people's real names.
Yeah, there's no
attempt. So just go and say, hey man, I'm Armbar. And if that person says, oh, I know you're Armbar, just be like, well, I forgot your name.
Yeah.
And it's a starting point. So just when you're there, don't always wait for someone to come up to you. Just walk up and be like, hey brother, what's your name? And it kickstarts a conversation. And next thing you know, you're friends.
Yeah. I love that. It's so simple, right? I mean, some guys are so good with names. Like, I feel like, you watch Wait Time or Tater, they remember a guy's name after they see him one time.
Oh man, I agree.
So you've got to get comfortable with just, I'm sorry, I forget, which I think is good. I think, and you know, that's like immediately starting that interaction with some vulnerability.
Which is good. All right, so
we may be lost.
We may be lost. It may be time to sign out, use that technology to figure out where we need to go.
Yeah. One more thing, real quick, as you're thinking about you, guys see you out here, what do you need encouragement or support with? Anything in that space?
Even though I said something to the contrary, I don't mind a reminder text that says, hey buddy, I haven't seen you in a few days. I'd love to see you tomorrow morning.
Right.
And that little bit of communication goes a really long way.
Yeah, for sure. Well, all right, Brady Flehardy, 36, The Plague.
Reed Weber, 39, Armbar.
All right. Hey, fellas, we're going to try to find our way back home.